All aboard the train heading to Swamp Bottom, but not Swamp Bottom, more like the Swamp Podcast. Am I right? The Swamp is the name of this show that you're listening to. It's our podcast. Every week we talk about a different movie, and this week, it's an acronym.
Stands for some whack-ass movie podcasting.
And this week, we're really excited to talk about arguably the best movie. The best animated film ever made, but like arguably just one of the best movies ever made.
Yeah.
Why confine her to the animation genre? Mm-hmm. No, she transcends.
Oh yeah, she's top tier.
2001 Studio Ghibli Spirited Away.
Mm-hmm. I feel like it's kind of surprising that we've taken this long to talk about a Studio Ghibli movie, because I know you're a pretty big fan, and I hadn't watched them until, like, maybe last year or something like that, but then I, like, fully dove into, like, my Studio Ghibli phase.
That's wild to me, that this is all pretty recent.
Yeah, well, I didn't know where to watch them, and then I was like, oh, HBO Max has literally every single one. And so
Except for Howl's Moving Castle.
What? What do you mean? Are you serious?
I wanted to watch Howl's Moving Castle the other day, and I legit had to purchase it.
I've only ever watched it on HBO Max.
Oh, maybe I'm just stupid then.
No, that's so strange.
Well, now I own it, which is like probably for the best anyways.
That is a good one. Yeah, no.
After we had the conversation about Christian Bale being like, Sophie, I was like, I need to go back and like rewatch that one. And so the other day...
So good. It's hard to say if like that one's my favorite, because like anytime I watch one of these movies, it becomes a new favorite. I'm like, oh, this one's my favorite. Or like I watched Ponyo for the first time like 3 months ago, and I was like, oh, this is my favorite. Then I rewatched this like yesterday, and I was like, oh no, it's Spirited Away. Oh, it's Howl's Moving Castle. Yeah, except for Porco Rosso, bottom every time.
I've
never reached above last place for me.
I've never seen that one. So I would say I'm like a mid-tier. I'm like a mid Studio Ghibli fan, because I think I've seen probably about half of them. Like I've never seen Princess Mononoke.
It's good.
I've never seen Porco Rosso. There's some of the older ones. and there's some of the newer ones I haven't seen. So, but definitely, I would argue that Spirited Away is just objectively the best one.
Yes, most definitely.
But I also agree then, I'm like, oh, but now I want to watch Ponyo because I love that one. Oh, now I want to go back and watch Kiki's because I love that one.
Yeah.
So I think they all provide such that, like, warm comfort feeling.
Yeah.
And it's wild that all of them are just so consistently
insanely
amazing
good
for the most part.
Yeah, no, I think you were probably the first, like, interaction that I had with any Studio Ghibli movies, because I remember, like, being, like, 14 years old and you mentioning Kiki's Delivery Service a lot.
I had the tank top that I wore in gym class when you had to, like, change for gym. I wore a pajama set from Hot Topic that had Kiki's Delivery Service. It was like, I didn't wear the shorts. I didn't wear like the matching shorts, but I wore the tank top that was, it's like a scene from, and I still have it. I still stretch myself into it. but I remember like in middle school, like wearing that during gym class and people being like, what? And I'm like, get on my fucking level, bitch. Kiki's Delivery Service. Culture yourself. Educate yourself.
You're not a 13-year-old cinephile? What the fuck?
But I do think my, like, personal history with this movie specifically, I think Spirited Away was my entry. Oh, well, Kiki's Delivery Service, I definitely watched as a child, because that movie came out in 1999, I think. And my mom put that movie on for me when I was, like, younger than 5, for sure. And that one, I definitely just, like, always had as, like, a childhood thing, but I think the first one that I, like, actively sought out and watched on my own was Spirited Away.
Yeah.
And it was very much tied to, like, Tumblr culture.
Of course.
And I think that's maybe my introduction to, like, movies and seeking out movies and watching movies on my own and then wanting to, like, participate in cultural conversation about movies all came from Tumblr, specifically like Tumblr screenshot culture of like you have your Tumblr blog, right? And you want it to be aesthetic. It was like the very early stages of like and it didn't matter if you knew anything about the things you were posting or reblogging, because
as long as it
looked pretty or like matched the aesthetic of your blog. And so a lot of that was like movie quotes, like screen grabs from movies with quotes, and it would always usually be something like really emotional or like edgy. But there was also, on like the opposite side of that, there was also a lot of like really like soft, pretty ones, which I was a little more drawn to, and it was a lot of Studio Ghibli, like the food I remember a lot, and like Chihiro riding on the dragon. Like I remember very early on like reblogging pictures of that, like having really no concept of what it was. And then I think at a certain point it was like, well, I'm interacting with these things so much, I should probably like learn about them. And I totally watched this movie from an illegal download website Tumblr link of like 100 movies you need to see to be cultured or whatever, or like 100 movies for every Tumblr girl or something,
which
like
is
that.
Like your gospel was that list.
Honestly, that's how I watched this. That's how I definitely got into Scott Pilgrim. Little Miss Sunshine, I definitely watched from one of those. So just a lot of those movies were like from Tumblr links, which like it was probably mirror imaged, so it didn't get flagged for copyright. You know, when the movie's like flipped on your screen. So I probably watched this,
or it's like sped up like 0.3%. Everything's just like a little faster than it should be.
Or I remember I watched the first episode of Game of Thrones. It was like in Finnish, but with English subtitles. I remember like from an illegal website. And then I was like, I should probably just like bust down and get HBO.
I'll just commit to this.
Right. But yeah, that was definitely my like introductory to it just being beautiful, and then being like, wait, I should probably actually go like see this. And then I wanted to cosplay as Chihiro. Of course. One year some friends and I went to Anime Boston, which is kind of like a Comic-Con type convention thing, and we were gonna go for 2 days, and I Misty from Pokemon cosplay, because that one was that's just like Daisy Dukes in a yellow tank top. I had that one put together, but then I was like, I'm gonna be Chihiro, and I'm gonna sew her little pink sort of coral bathhouse worker outfit. I was like, I'm gonna make that. And so I remember I printed, using my family printer, I printed out a sewing pattern of that. And then I was like, I don't really even fucking know how to sew. Like at that point, I could probably confidently sew like a pillowcase.
Yeah.
And I told myself I was going to sew this entire costume. So I remember like printing, downloading a pattern and printing it out, and then being like, I don't know what to do with this. So that never came to fruition, but it was definitely like a big project I'd planned for a while. And then I was like, wait, I can't do this. I'm 12. Like,
I need my mom's supervision. Yeah, no. But do we want to give a small recap? This is going to be a tough one to recap because there's a lot in this movie.
It's like a lot, but also like not a lot.
Yeah.
I feel like bare bones. I think the plot of this movie. Yeah. So at its bare bones, I think it's just this 10-year-old girl named Chihiro. She's moving to a new town, a new school, all of that. So they're on their way to their new house, and her parents stop sort of on this off the beaten path place, and they get sort of sucked into this tunnel, and she's like, what the fuck are y'all doing? And they're like, we're going for a walk, like chill out. And she's like, you guys are not behaving normally. And they're like, Chihiro, shut the fuck up. And they end up getting sucked into this town where they then see all this food, and they start eating the food, and Chihiro's like, what the fuck is happening? And then they won't really look at her, they won't interact with her, and it's starting to get concerning. And then they turn into pigs. And she's like, something is amiss here. So she starts sort of bopping around, and she realizes that something is off. And then Haku comes in, and he's like, you gotta come with me. This is the spirit world, and you gotta get yourself situated. So basically she goes in, and it's this bathhouse. And she is a human, so they all know she's a human, but she has to sort of try to assimilate, so she gets a job there as a bathhouse, like, worker. And she lets the spirit No Face in, and then he starts causing all of this ruckus because he is eating food and people and just spewing gold everywhere, and it just gets a little too out of hand. And then the bathhouse owner, Yubaba, she's kind of got it out for Chihiro. She's also controlling Haku, who's also a dragon. And And then eventually Chihiro decides that she has to leave. They go to Swamp Bottom, where Yubaba's twin sister, Zeniba, lives. And they kind of get everything situated. No Face has chilled the fuck out and has stopped eating people because he's just a baby and he's trying his best. There's also a giant baby who gets turned into a mouse. And they all go, they situate it, they come back. Yubaba says, which of these pigs is your parents? And she says, none of them. I know you're a trickstress. And then everybody says, yay, Chihiro, you solved the riddle. And then her and her parents get to go home. And that's the end of the movie.
That was probably the most concise plot summary that we've ever done.
But I also missed like a million things.
Well, yeah, because there's
just
so much.
Packed.
This
movie is
absolutely insane. We didn't even mention some of my favorite characters.
Right. I think from point A to point B, it's very like a young girl enters a mysterious world, has to find her parents, save her parents, successfully, has to go through the trials and tribulations of doing that, and then does it, and then, they go home. Mm-hmm. That's the whole story. But within that, there's like 80,000 little side quests of like,
oh my God.
Now she has to clean the stink spirit, and the stink spirit gives her a falafel medicine, and then she gives the falafel medicine to No Face, even though she was planning on giving it to her parents, and like that's a whole thing that like only takes up like 5 minutes of time, but and there's the baby, the giant baby is happening.
Kumaji and the soot sprites. Spirits? Are they sprites?
I think they're sprites.
Sprites, yeah, right, yeah.
If I had access to a tattoo gun in middle school, I would have soot sprites on my body.
Dude, I would, no. Anytime I watch this, I'm like holding myself back from like booking an appointment, everything like that, because I'm like, it's so basic, but I'm like, I want it. I still want it.
Right, I feel like not only should there be like entire art museums dedicated to like the beautiful artistry of Studio Ghibli movies. I'm sure there are like exhibits and stuff.
There's like a Studio Ghibli like exhibit in like the like the Oscars Museum and the Academy Awards Museum in Los Angeles or something like that. There's a whole section dedicated to it.
That would make sense. But like whole art museums dedicated to Studio Ghibli, yes. I also feel like there should be an entire like art exhibits dedicated to Studio Ghibli tattoos.
Yeah.
Like the beautiful tattoos that people get of like Studio Ghibli artwork. I saw the most insane one recently. It was Haku as the dragon, and it was all in black and white except for it's that scene where he's got all the blood on him. And it was like this like beautiful like grayscale tattoo, but then with like the flecks of red highlighting his body. Oh, it was so good.
Yeah.
But just Studio Ghibli tattoos are like their own entire like beautiful art form I just could look at for hours.
It's so tough because like every time I watch one of the movies, I'm like, I'm getting that tattooed. Like watching this one, I was like, okay, like I've got a new one like planned out in my head, and like I've actually like found an artist recently that like around me that like does a lot of Studio Ghibli stuff. I'm like, oh god, this is becoming too easy. Like, oh no.
I feel like a really cute one would be like the little mouse and the bird.
Yeah.
Like the bird carrying the mouse. That one would be so cute.
That's really cute.
Yeah. Soot sprites would be so cute.
I would just want like the entirety of Howl's Moving Castle on my back. It's just a ginormous back.
My whole leg is just all the storyboards.
Yeah. It's just the ginormous Stinks monster on the back of my leg.
I have never related.
I felt so there's a lot of times in this movie that I felt very seen and very represented, and that was one of them.
The stink spirit, that's me rolling up to the function, just being stinky, causing a ruckus, being an attention whore, and just oozing my stink everywhere. And everyone's like, P.U., who's gonna deal with the stink spirit? And I'm just like, I'm gonna sit down in the bath.
Like that, and like, what was it? Like, Chihiro just sobbing for like 20% of the movie eating like white rice. I was like, yeah, this is
that scene in particular when Haku gives her the little like rice cakes to eat,
and she just starts bawling.
But I'm like, this is a lesson for, like, how to console your sad friend.
Yeah.
Is, like, give them a piece of food and just let them cry it out, you know?
Exactly.
Let them sob while eating a, pint of Ben & Jerry's. That's the best way to, like, get over emotions.
Exactly.
Is to, like, cry and eat at the same time.
Exactly. Yeah, no. I mean, No Face definitely has it down. But I felt personally, this watch around felt really seen because I, too, like him, look for approval through gifts and small little groans. I'm like, yeah. Yeah, I get you, boy. I see you.
I do love that he and Chihiro, like, develop this sort of, like, unspoken bond that, like, she's sort of not his caretaker, but, like, she's sort of his anchor in this crazy world where he's really getting caught up with, like, the way people are treating him because he just emulates what the culture is. That's his whole thing, right? So he gets because he's not really an antagonist. He just enters the bathhouse and they realize he sees somebody get gold and that's like a sign of approval. So he gives somebody gold and then, realizes that that's how people will pay attention to him. And so then they immediately just start feeding him, and giving him food. So he's like, okay, I guess this is how it works. I'm just going to eat everything and I'll give you gold. And that's how it's going to work here. And then obviously it spirals out of control, but always he's like, where's Chihiro? I want to hang with my bestie. And they've only ever developed this connection through her being like, what are you doing here? Can I help you? And him being like, And I'm like, same. Sometimes that's all it takes. It's just a little,
Oh my god. No, I do love that scene though, and it's like, it's so iconic of like him chasing her through the bathhouse and everything like that. Like, that's how I feel also, though, is, like, because it's just him vomiting, like, the entire time and running and everything like that. I'm like, dude, that's how I feel after a night out. Like, I hear you.
Spewing. Just spewing ooze.
No, for real. He's eaten, like all of the food, 3 people from the bathhouse, basically. And, like, Chihiro, like, gives him, like, was it, the magic falafel from, like, the river spirit. That's not a falafel, that's just Tums. That boy needed, like, desperately. I could not imagine the heartburn going on in that guy's body.
I love it. So, basically, there's another river spirit, the stink spirit comes in, and Chihiro figures out that he's not really a stink spirit, he's a river spirit who's just been covered in muck, which
he's
is
been polluted, essentially.
Let's not get into, like the beautiful allusions to, like, environmentalism in this movie, but she basically saves the day, and he, as a gratitude, gives her, to me, I'm like, that's a falafel. It just looks like a little ball of chickpeas.
Yeah.
And so he gives it to her with no other explanation or no communication. Yeah. And so then later she just like takes a little chomp out of it and she's like, ew. And I'm like, girl, I relate though, because if somebody gave me a little falafel, I'd be like, I'm gonna take a nibble.
I'll take a bite.
I'll take a little nibble. But then I guess she just assumes that it's medicine.
Yeah.
Which then ends up working out for her because it is.
Yeah.
But I'm like, she's just been keeping this thing like in her pocket.
Right.
Like, what is it?
Oh my god. Yeah, no, her giving it to Haku and like opening up his giant like dragon jaw and sticking her whole arm down his throat. I was like, this is how I give my dog medicine. He's like flailing around. I was like, stop it.
And also, Chihiro is, like, a down bad bitch, because she was saving that to give to her parents. When she realized that it was medicine, she's like, I'm gonna literally save my pig parents with this. And then, nope, she splits it in half. Half to my new bae, Haku, half to No Face. I'm just like, damn, she's really, like, new priorities real quick.
Oh, yeah. Like, she spends, like, oh my god, like, more power to her, because if I was her, I wouldn't have even, like, gotten out of phase 1 of this, which is where you start to dissolve and you have to eat food from, like, the spirit world to, like, survive. I would have just let myself dissolve. I couldn't be bothered. I'd say, I know I'm getting into way too much. I don't have the emotional or mental capacity for this. Goodbye.
Or I think even if I'd gotten past that point, when Haku gives her the little cranberry, she becomes, and then he gives her very distinct instructions. He says, go out of this door, down the stairs, into Kamaji's office and you're gonna ask him for a job, and then she has to go down those fucking stairs, which I think that was also a Tumblr scene that I really remember. It's like the the big zoom of the stairs. I would not have even, I would have been like, I'm gonna go fuck off somewhere else.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go try to find some of that buffet food.
For real.
My parents were
just turn me into a pig at this point.
Yeah, I would have never even made it because I also would have been consuming all of those soup dumplings, and I would be turned into a pig.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, we would have at least made it over the bridge as human beings, because we watched this movie, and I've done this definitely before, but I think you're the person that, like, says it. It's like whenever someone goes underwater or, like, has to hold their breath in a movie, you sit there and, like, you, like, emulate it and you do it yourself to see if you survive. We were watching this, like, the other day or something like that, and we both, like, sat there and, like, without saying a word to each other, we went, and, like, and I think we both would have made it entirely.
I do have to give Chihiro credit, though, because the only reason she, like, falters is because she gets, like, startled by a tiny frog in a kimono that jumps up and, like, yells at her, which I also would be like, ah!
Yeah.
What the fuck? But I guess also then, looking at what else is happening around, there are much wilder things to be seen than that little frog. Like, there are full-ass spirits that look like giant turnips.
Yeah.
Like, a frog in a little suit is not...
He's the least of your worries.
The most wild.
He's the most familiar thing to you right now. Oh my gosh, it's so funny. Another thing that... And I feel like it's so tough watching... Not tough. Great, I guess, watching this movie, because I feel like I pick up on little things every time, like new things, because there's so much to look at, and it's so gorgeous. But I think my favorite detail that I picked up on this time is that, so, like, Yubaba's the one that, the, like, witch lady that runs the bathhouse, essentially, and she's, like, just a straight-up hardcore capitalist. Like, she's not, like, I wouldn't say, like, she's, like, evil, but, like, she's, like, a capitalist, so, like, she's, like, in the physical embodiment of capitalism, so I'm like, okay, yeah, she is evil, essentially, but, so she, like, basically has this ability to, like, turn into a bird. She, like, wraps her cape around her, and then she's like, all right, I'm off, and then, like, flies into the night. But that girl is straight up wearing pit vipers whenever she's flying.
Oh my god! I shit you not. I said the same thing, because Henry and I just watched Howl's Moving Castle, and Henry was like, what is with, like, people who turn into birds? Because that's all of Howl's Moving Castle, is that he just, like, transforms into this bird human. And he's like, is that, like, rooted in any sort of actual lore? And I was like, I couldn't tell you. Like, so much of this, I'm sure, actually is derived from, like, myths and, you know, fantasy, religion, all of that stuff. I'm sure there's probably, it's very referential to all of that, which I just don't know. But I was like, I don't know why she's a bird, but I do know that she's wearing pit vipers. And everyone in the room was like, what are you talking about? And I was like, look up what pit vipers are and tell me that bitch isn't iced the fuck out.
Dude, for real!
Griffin Maxwell Brooks on TikTok.
Oh my god.
has influenced Yubaba to get on the pit viper trend.
Oh, their influence. Oh my god. Oh my god. Yubaba is in. Pit vipers are in. The bathhouse is also in, because I would love to hang out there. I would love to just, I don't care, like, the concept of, like, a bathhouse, yeah, kind of disgusting. At least if you ask me. But, like, I want to hang.
So, not to, like, make generalized statements and say that, like, all of Japan is a clean place and all of America is a dirty place.
America is not gorgeous.
But the fact that, like, the bathhouses like that are, I don't know if it's still today, but I know, like, it, you know, culturally in Japan, bathhouses are a thing.
Yeah,
they look just like that. And he modeled this after, like, an actual place he grew up near, Hayao Miyazaki. And to me, I'm like, if there was a bathhouse in America, it would be rank as fuck.
Exactly.
People would piss on the floor. People would be fucking in the corners and pissing on the floor. And it would never work.
We have no class.
In Japan, I'm like, it looks so nice.
Gorgeous.
I wish I could go take an herbal bath and eat a ham.
Literally.
An entire ham in the bath. That sounds great. But simply, if one of those opened in Boston, Massachusetts,
Jesus Christ.
no, you would get so many parasites.
Yeah. There's cum on every surface. Like, oh, yeah, no, it is beautiful. Like, if I could step into that world, yeah, I'm taking a soak. I'm sitting there. I'll tell you what, like, the frog guys do, like, freak me out a little bit. I won't lie to you.
I like them.
I don't know.
I like those. They're like sort of. So they're like actual. They're like straight up frogs, right?
Yeah.
They're frogs that wear little suits, and then there are like humans, and then there are these like in between, like anthropomorphized, somewhat frogs, somewhat humans.
Those guys.
And I all of the character design in this, and in all Miyazaki films, is just like so intricate and beautiful. And I love the scaling that like Yubaba's nose is the size of Chihiro's whole body, but like. And they're just, like, running around each other, and it makes no goddamn sense. And, like, yeah, there are giant frogs, there are little frogs, there are huge people, there are little people, and they're all just mingling in the same space, and it's so interesting to look at. And, like, there are giant ducks.
Yeah.
They're giant fucking ducks.
The turnip spirit?
But then, like...
Don't get me started.
That's me. His little red hat, I love.
His little red hat and just the loincloth. Titties out.
Titty, yeah. His, like, beard that covers his titties sometimes.
Oh my god.
But yeah, I like the frog people because you can kind of, like, line up, like, the frog people that are more frog and then the frog people that are more
yeah,
people.
that is super
Because, like, some of them skew a little bit more one way than the other, which... But do you have a certain character who just, like, the character design of it really scratches an itch for you? Because I think I love the turnip spirit, and then I think we both agree that Kamaji is, like, very aesthetically pleasing to look at with his arms.
Kamaji is, yeah, probably just, like, my favorite generally. Like, I've got this, okay, I'll tell you what, this... And honestly, okay, not any, but a lot of Studio Ghibli movies ignite my grandparent issues that I have, because I'm just sitting there and I'm like, Zeniba and, like, Kamaji, I'm claiming them as my grandparents, like, you know what I mean? But also, like, Granddaddy Kamaji,
Yeah.
what could that man do with his 6 arms?
Zaddy.
Oh my god, but no, I think he is, like, probably one of the most interesting guys. I love that he has his tiny little legs, and, like, he, like, walks like a spider, and that he just sleeps on his little, like, workstation, and his giant mustache.
And he drinks his tea kettle that he's just glugging out of his tea kettle, and he's like, I gotta just keep busting out. The grind never stops. I do love, one of my favorite character design things is, like, specifically, like, old man whose mustache takes up the entire lower half of the face. I think that's such a vibe to, like, convey that kind of person, like the, you know, emotive through the, like, floppy mustache.
Yeah, no, I would say he is probably, out of, like, all of the characters in this that itch my brain, right? He is probably the one that really does it for me. Obviously, like, I just like him and the Soot Sprites, and they're, like, dynamic and everything like that. However, I do think that the Soot Sprites should unionize.
Okay, so this movie, it's so interesting because Miyazaki made this movie basically because he saw a 10-year-old girl, like a daughter of a friend, and she, like, looked kind of disgruntled, and that's why he's like, okay, well, I have to make a movie for this person. Like, I have to make a movie for the slightly disgruntled 10-year-old girl.
Love it.
I think he was thinking that a lot of the media that is geared towards, like, girls in that age is very, like, romance-based, and it's not action-adventure-based. And he's like, why can't they have, like, a story with a character who reflects them, who is, like, a heroine who goes through adventure and learns lessons and stuff like that. So that, I think that was, like, sort of his, like, bubbling inspiration to do this film. It's crazy to me that the target audience for this is 10-year-old girls, yet this movie has themes of, like, labor hierarchies. Yeah, American capitalist greed, environmentalism. Like, this truly transcends, like, age as far as demographic, because I think you can enjoy this movie if you're 5, and you can enjoy this movie if you're 50.
Easily. Yeah, no, this is a movie for everyone.
Which I just think a lot of, like, not to directly compare it to Disney, but, like, I think a lot of Disney movies try to do that. Yeah. And with the, like, we're gonna add in some jokes for the adults like never goes over right, because it's like you're either doing something above the head of children, but it still feels like below the level of adults, and then it just feels like kind of cheesy or
Half-assed,
cast in.
yeah.
And not to say that adults can't enjoy like children's media. Like I go back and I watch stuff, that is intended for kids all the time. But I think like this movie, if I saw it for the first time when I was fully an adult, I would like it just as much as if it had that nostalgic, like my love for this movie is not necessarily rooted in like, oh, I like it because I liked it as a kid. It's like, I like it because it's just objectively an amazing
outstanding
movie.
film. Yeah. Fuck Citizen Kane. Like that. I'm here for Spirited Away.
Oh my goodness, who could it be? But Jen, everyone was starting to think that we had unethically, unlawfully terminated you from the podcast, that your unpaid internship had reached its expiration date, but no, Jen just had the flu the past 2 weeks, and that's why we haven't had chocolate or vanilla in a hot minute, but don't you worry, we've received all of your complaints about the lack of chocolate or vanilla these past few weeks, so Jen is here once again. How are you?
I am good. I am so much better. Thank you. I was thinking that people might think I got fired.
Fired my own mother. Harsh. I'm just a tycoon like that. I'm just a podcast tycoon. I'll fire my own mom. I don't even care. But Chocolate or Vanilla, it's a game. You host it halfway through the show. You come in, you just say two things. We all say which one we like better. It's a game. It's a nice time. Is there a theme this week?
There is a double theme this week.
Double theme.
Ooh.
Anime and animated movies that won Best Picture.
Okay. So one Best Picture or one Best Animated Picture?
Best Animated Picture.
Okay. Because I think I don't think an animated movie has ever won, but I think there have been a few times where animated movies have slipped into the Best Picture category. Like I think it happened with Beauty and the Beast.
That is correct.
And then I think it maybe happened again with like something else, but it's happened a few times, but it happens very rarely.
You are correct. And but no, these are Best Animated Picture winners.
Cool.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Which I guess that category didn't even exist until 2001. Prior to that,
because of Shrek.
Yeah, Shrek was
Literally
the first one.
because of Shrek. They were like, we need to honor this movie somehow.
Of course.
Exactly. And then this one was the second winner in 2002. All right, so chocolate or vanilla?
Chocolate.
Vanilla.
Chocolate. Chocolate, vanilla, strawberry, or chocolate chip?
Ooh.
Okay. Chocolate chip seems like kind of a technicality because that is just a variation of chocolate, but I'm going to assume you're referring strictly to ice cream flavors for these four. So I'll say if it's an ice cream situation, I guess I'll say vanilla.
Yeah, vanilla.
I'll go chocolate. All right. First one is Shrek or Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
Oh my god.
That's really tough, Jen. Those are two timeless masterpieces that simply cannot be compared on any fathomable level. But
I knew you would have a hard time with this one.
Shrek is really great, but objectively, Into the Spider-Verse is a better film, and I think I have to say Into the Spider-Verse. I cannot in good conscience say that Shrek is objectively better. Maybe in my heart, but like not by the facts, not by the books.
That's very true. I'm gonna follow my heart though on this one, and I'm gonna say Shrek because I've only watched Into the Spider-Verse once. I feel like I need to recount it to remember how good it is.
I think this one's a hard one too, but I'm gonna go with Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Next one is Pokemon or Yu-Gi-Oh.
I like the way you said Pokemon.
Pokemon? I am not going to pronounce these anime things correctly, by the way.
I was definitely a Pokemon girl growing up. The cards, the show, all that. Definitely a Pokemon bitch. Pokemon Go.
Oof.
Well into my adult life. For more recently than I'm willing to admit, I had a Pokemon Go streak going.
Hell yeah.
So Yu-Gi-Oh! I never really watched the show, and I never really... The Pokemon cards were just, cuter, so I was never really into Yu-Gi-Oh!
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I'm gonna agree with Dara on this one. Definitely Pokemon.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Pokemon too. Aaron's brother Neil was the OG Pokemon stan. He loved Pokemon. Next one is Big Hero 6 or Frozen.
Fuck Frozen. I liked Big Hero 6. I think I've only seen it once or twice, but I definitely remember enjoying it. And Frozen is just like, doesn't do it for me, and the overhypeness of it in culture, there are better movies about sisterly love out there, even within the Disney canon.
That is true, but I haven't seen Big Hero 6, and I will give Frozen the credit that it is due, so I'll go with Frozen today.
I love Big Hero 6, so I'm going to go with Big Hero 6. Darren, when we saw Frozen in the movie theater, I can't remember how old you were, but you were like disgusted that the end theme was sisterly love. You were like sticking your finger down your throat. You were like, this is just the worst thing ever.
I stand by it. I stand by that review.
Next one is JoJo's Bizarre Adventure or Naruto.
I'm a JoJo's bitch. Henry has like indoctrinated me. I like as a young person, I only ever watched like some animes, and I always watched them dubbed. But Henry has forced me to watch a lot of animes with the subtitles because he's like, the voice acting is better. You don't understand. And now I'm like fully an anime bitch now. But the new part of JoJo's is coming out pretty soon, so I think I might do like a full series rewatch. So if anybody who listens to our podcast likes JoJo's, that would be like kind of a weird crossover. But DM me about JoJo's, I guess.
Yeah, no, I can't say that I've watched either of these very much, but I will shout out my brother Ryan, because he did a really sick JoJo cosplay like 2 years ago or something like that. And he's been trying to get me to watch it for a long time, and I haven't made the time for it, so I'll go for JoJo.
I'm gonna go for Naruto because I'm gonna shout out my son Ryan, who loves Naruto. So, next one is Soul or Encanto.
I haven't seen Encanto, but
That's good.
I'm gonna pick it. I'm gonna pick it because I feel like all of the like fringe media I've seen about it and like the music I've heard from it, I like can kind of get behind. Soul, I thought was like a fine movie, but it was way too forwardly being like, we're putting adult themes into a kids movie. This is about existentialism and what is the meaning of life. And it was like so heavy-handed that I'm like, how could a child ever enjoy this? Like, because it was making me stressed out. It was like, what is the meaning of life? And as an adult, I was like, this is like upsetting. And I'm like, if I was a kid, I'd be pissed.
Yeah. I haven't seen either of these movies, but I did work a Disney on Ice show a couple of times, and the Encanto music was flame. So, I'm gonna stick with that.
Were you on ice?
I was next to the ice. I was not on the ice, unfortunately. I would have been like a baby deer.
Were you in costume?
Yes, fully.
Yeah, I'm gonna take Encanto too. So good. Next one is Sailor Moon or Hello Kitty.
Is Hello Kitty even a show? I don't know. I just know Hello Kitty as like a brand and an entity.
I think it was a cartoon.
She transcends.
She's an icon. She's a legend, and she is the moment. Like
she is the moment.
I stand Hello Kitty.
I never watched Sailor Moon, but I do love like the aesthetics of it. But I just think Hello Kitty is like some omnipresent godlike ruling power that controls all of us. So I think I have to say Hello Kitty.
She is like an immortal being. I'm so behind that. Yeah, it's definitely Hello Kitty for me.
Well, I did not know Hello Kitty was going to get that kind of reaction, but I'll pick her too. Next one is Brave or Up.
I think I enjoy the movie Up more, so I'll pick that one. I don't have much memories of Brave other than just her saying, if you had the chance to change your fate, would you?
You sound like Shark.
I haven't seen either of these, which feels bad of me for having never seen Up. But I guess I'll choose Up because I think it seems more ingrained into pop culture, I guess, and like I definitely know more about it. So
all right, I'll take Brave because I have not seen Up. And Merida is one of those princesses. If you're trying to list the Disney princesses, don't forget Merida. She's easy to forget. Yeah.
Gotcha. If I'm ever doing trivia.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay.
It's important to know your lists when doing trivia. Next one is Dragon Ball Z or Bakugan.
Bakugan. Digging in deep into Bakugan. Bakugan were like toys, like because there was the TV show and like the card game, but also the cards had magnets in them and the toys like expanded. Oh, and that was so stimulating to my brain.
It was so good.
And did you? I feel like this is kind of fucked up, but did you ever just take a Bakugan when you would like get a pack and you would get like a double that you already have, and you would just throw it at a concrete wall as hard as you could because they would just explode?
No,
easily? It was so gratifying. Like at recess, somebody would be like have left a Bakugan behind, and I would just like whip it out a wall, and that thing would just shatter, and it was like.
And then a
really...
second grade boy would cry for a year.
This is saying a lot about you as a person right now, Dara.
Oh, I was like a rip the heads off of my Barbies.
I love that
kid. Destructive.
No, I never threw any Bakugan at the wall, but I love them. I remember vividly the first time I ever saw like a Bakugan and was introduced to one. Like, it's very much like it, like, core memory is being introduced to Bakugan, because I loved those things as a kid.
Was it love at first sight?
Yes, entirely. I was like, this is the coolest shit I've ever seen.
Love at first magnetic deployment.
I'm gonna take Bakugan also. When I was trying to think of it, I could not think of the name of it. And I'm describing it to Gary, and I'm like, those toys that Ryan had, and they were magnets, but they were balls. I think we...
Not to be confused with Beyblades, which also slap.
Yeah, similar, like, idea behind them.
Beyblades were like
battling
Hot Wheels,
toys.
Like our version of Hot Wheels, yeah. Next one is Toy Story 3 or Toy Story 4.
Fuck Toy Story 4. About that spoon. I haven't seen that shit. I remember I saw 3 in the theaters and I didn't think much of it, but at least I, like, have memories of seeing it. Fuck that. They just need to know when to fucking kill a franchise. Jesus
For
Christ.
real, let it
the
die.
New Buzz movie. Fuck the new Buzz movie. All my homies boycott the new Buzz movie.
I watched the new
shit.
Buzz movie when I had the flu.
Was it awful?
I liked it.
Fuck you.
Sorry.
Yeah, I'm gonna choose Toy Story 3, I guess, because, yeah, the fourth one I didn't get into.
Yeah. I was shocked, like, 1 and 2 didn't win, but 3 and 4 did. So, which I think is
some
kinda,
bullshit nostalgia stuff, so...
Yeah. This is not a good week for me. I got almost fired, and you just told me to F off.
I'm sorry. You just, how dare you undermine my Toy Story opinions on my own podcast, Jen.
Sorry. But I'll take 3. Alright, this is the last one. This is a quad. Aang, Appa, Kiki, Gigi.
So, I'm deciding between these 4, or can it be like teams, like Aang and Appa?
I meant you gotta pick one out of 4.
Oh, definitely Appa. Out of all 4, Appa's the main homie. Even though I have my Kiki's delivery service.
I noticed that.
Love it.
But no, Appa's the main homie.
Yeah, no, I'm Appa for life.
I like Aang and his arrow in his head.
Yeah, nice.
So I'm gonna take Aang.
Emily is freshly bald. Emily, you could do a sick little Aang cosplay.
I should. Maybe that's what I do for Halloween, is I'm Aang. That would actually be kind of gas.
Yeah, I feel like that would be pretty easy, because the arrow is so iconic.
Yeah.
Everyone would just know.
Yeah, maybe I will. Yeah, if anyone has any Halloween suggestions for someone with a buzzed head, please send them in. Movie characters, I'm really considering Charlize Theron from Mad Max, so yeah, give me your suggestions.
You're gonna need like an entire eyeshadow palette of black to just do your like whole forehead.
No, I'm actually just gonna use like real motor oil. Just swipe it right across my face.
Aaron did Furiosa once. It came out great. Came out awesome.
That's sick.
Can I be Nicholas Holt's character?
Please.
Like all sickly. I think I could pull that off.
Oh my god, yeah.
But as always, Jen, thank you so much for coming back onto the show. Your re-debuting premiere, Chocolate or Vanilla.
I'm so happy to be back.
I'll have these up on our Instagram, maybe, and y'all can vote for your favorites. And Jen, we love you and thank you.
I love you guys. Have an awesome week. Bye.
No, I do think this movie is absolutely brilliant. And as much as I do kind of wish that I had, like, my Ghibli phase, like, or at least, like, I was introduced to it, like, earlier in my life, I do feel like I'm at an age where I can, like, really appreciate, like, every single aspect of it. Like, mind you, of course, I don't think it takes, like, being, like, over, like, 15 years old to appreciate the art style, but, like, oh my god. It's amazing.
And when you think about that, this movie is primarily hand-drawn. Like, that's wild. And this was the first Ghibli movie actually to employ, like, 3D animation software, so you can kind of tell in some scenes.
Yeah.
Miyazaki was very particular. He's like, I don't want to overuse it because it's going to distract from, like, what the core visual intent is. But there are certain scenes that you can tell that they're playing more with, like, using, like, 3D tech modeling.
Yeah, like,
rather than everything being, like, flat.
Immediately, like, it comes to mind, like, that scene where they're, like, going to, like, see her parents and they're walking through all the flowers and everything like that. But also, what is it? It's once they, like, wrench out, like, all of the shit from the river spirit and everything like that, and he's, like, bubbling up in the big pool or whatever it is and everything like that, and I was like, okay, this, like, visually looks different, but it is also still so cohesive, because I feel like a lot of, especially, like, 2001, like, I feel like a lot of, like, animation and everything like that, like, it really, like, can take away from the movie, because you're like, okay, like, here it is, here's, like, all the different styles, or the other, techniques that they're employing here, you know what I mean, and it feels, like, very, like, apart, I guess, from the movie. But this is still, like, they did an amazing job, like, integrating it in. Like, it is not even close to distracting.
And I think he was very conscious of, like, we're gonna try to use this, but I'm going to be, like, breathing down your neck the whole time you do it, because I do not want it to, like, change, and, like, it only is there to add, not to be like, look at this gimmicky flashy thing we're doing, which I think is like, definitely especially in the early 2000s, the use of 3D was just like, it was new and it was exciting, and it made your stuff look different, but it's, like, objectively still very crunchy and not good.
Like, a lot of people used it to try and flex, and I feel like all of the flexes, like, in this movie are still, like, the actual drawing and everything like that. Like, I think one of my favorite scenes, and it's so hard to choose, but, like, when she's, like, actually running through the spirit world for the first time, like, oh my god, it's insane. It's absolutely gorgeous.
Every storefront is, like, has all the little details, like the cobblestones. Every character is just, like, so immaculately thought out and well designed. Something that I learned actually this watch around while prepping for the pod and being like, I should, you know, skim the Wikipedia. I learned that Miyazaki's process is that he does not write a script or even a plot until the movie is already well into production.
Interesting.
So it all starts with art boards and, like, world building design and character design, and then from there, then they extract a plot and dialogue from, like, what has already been artistically built, which makes so much sense, because they're like, okay, let's design this beautiful bathhouse, like, and this world and all the interesting characters who live in this world, and suddenly from there you're like, okay, this is starting to, like, build itself. Like, he says that the stories write themselves from the, you know, the designs and the art that he makes. Like, the stories just end up kind of writing themselves from there, which I do think is why it's, like, bare bones, a simple plot with then a million little side things, because it's like, and then this fun character comes in and something happens, and then this other interesting character comes in and something happens, which makes a lot of sense. But I think that is such an, like, I wish more filmmakers or just artists in general took that, like, I'm gonna spend 90% of the time, like, building the universe, and then just 10% of the time, and because now the story already exists in there, I just have to find it.
Yeah, it's really interesting that you say that, because I remember seeing, and it's a clip that's, I think, circulated a little bit recently, of Phoebe Waller-Bridge talking about, like, her writing process and everything like that, and she's like, yeah, I never come up with, like, the story first, it's always dialogue and everything like that, and then, like, I end up basically, like, putting together, like, even if they don't seem like they fit together, basically, like, those big, like, scenes or interactions that I have, and then I figure out, like, the path from there, which, like, seems, like, very much, like, and mind you, obviously, like, her work isn't like artistically driven. It's totally like more dialogue driven and everything like that. But like it does sound like a similar process of like, okay, here's the not bare bones of it all, but like here's like those plot points that I want, or here's what I really want to show from this, and I'm gonna figure out, like, I'm gonna carve out the path from there, even if it makes no sense. You know what I mean?
Which ends up making so much more sense, though, because then I think you, as the viewer, understand the character better and their motivations, because I think about media that I don't like, and not to always be shitting on Marvel.
No, please.
I think I use that as a blanket. I use Marvel as, like, a blanket statement to mean, like, a lot of new, very high-budget, like, action-adventure type movies. And I think there's plenty outside of the MCU. I mean, there's good stuff within the MCU, and there's plenty of bad stuff outside of the MCU. But I just use Marvel as a blanket statement of like, they've written this plot, and then to get from point A to point B, it's an end all be all that it doesn't matter, you know, what the character's actual motivations are. Is that we just have to get to this B plot. So it's like, it's so plot driven that you miss those things. You miss those like genuine beats of dialogue or interesting world building moments, because they are simply, their motivation is that the point A is that something bad has happened, and point B is that the good guys win. Yeah. Right? Or something, you know, a little more specific than that.
And anything that matters that happens in between doesn't matter, really.
Right? Because as long as we end up at that B point, that's what, you know, resolves the film, which just isn't true. If you spent more time, like, actually, if you spent less time, I don't know, trying to push forward this shit, you'll make art that's just objectively better. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah. Which, like, thinking about it, like, especially, like, in this movie, it does, not that scene, like, it's a whole, like, 20-minute, like, travel, like, that they do to, like, go see Zeniba, which basically, like, they get there, nothing happens. They don't, like, really learn anything, like, that new, besides, like, she tells, like, Chihiro to, like, think of where you know Haku, and, like, she, like, gives, like, Haku, like, his name back, basically. But, like, it doesn't, like, really drive the plot along at all. Like, he's already, like, not under Yubaba's spell anymore. Like, she doesn't need to, like, learn any new information about how to, like, save her parents from being pigs or anything like that. They basically go, she has a good time with this little old lady and her friends. They weave her a nice little hair elastic, and then they go back. Like, that's it. And, like, it doesn't do anything, but, like, it adds so much to the story either way.
Yeah, like, every little side plot, like, the whole thing with the baby, the whole thing with the giant baby, and then the giant baby turning into a mouse, and then the mouse turning back into the baby. Like, you actually could have cut all of that from the script, and really, like, nothing would change. But it adds, like, the spice, right? It adds, like, it's like, in this meal, we're adding a little spice. And it's just interesting to have this thing, because then I think we understand Chihiro a little bit better, because this baby is something that she should be afraid of. And then she just kind of embraces it. And she's like, no, like, I'm going to take you with me. And it didn't need to be there, but I think adding it does add something. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Like, if this is one movie that I don't think it should be 90 minutes.
I was going to say, Dara's skipping this for Dara's 90-minute movie.
It's not even that long. It's like 100, what?
It's like a 2-hour movie, right? It's like hour 50 or something like that.
Studio Ghibli is the exception, because the amount of serotonin that gets injected right into my central nervous system by just the visuals. You can pause at any given frame and zoom in and be like, that's a little tiny detail that I just would have never picked up on. It's just fucking stunning.
This
true definition of comfort movie. Like, it will make me feel better. And all of Ghibli, like, just putting it on as, I'm just like, I can't be in a bad mood if this is
exactly on. Yeah, no, this is, like, I have a lot of big emotions and everything like that, but I don't usually, like, find myself, like, shedding any, like, happy tears. I will genuinely weep sometimes at, like, how beautiful and how much, like, these movies give to me. Like, watching Ponyo for the first time, I was sobbing.
Ponyo is so beautiful. Watching this movie made me want to rewatch Ponyo, because I think two, like, things that Studio Ghibli does that just itch my brain, like, so fucking hard are, and for everyone, I'm sure, food. the food design and water.
Yep.
Water and food in these movies is just so intensely beautiful. And this movie has a lot of water scenes, and like with the whole Haku being a river dragon, definitely at the end, like a lot of good water scenes, but especially in Ponyo, because that's almost all underwater.
It's the entire thing.
Just like an artistic accomplishment, like beyond almost anything that's ever been done as far as like, I don't know. I think about Moana, and the end credits of Moana, the number of people who worked specifically on animating the water, because it's like kind of its own entity, and like Moana's a great
it's a character
film,
itself.
but it's like I just think, oh my god, just watch Ponyo, and like it's. I am at a loss for words for how, and in this movie too, just the way water just affects the entire design of the film. Oh, it makes me.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely beautiful. I do love the water does it for me, and I think a lot like Howl's Moving Castle itches this for me. But like buildings in this world, and like and we've already talked about the bathhouse, but like I'm thinking specifically even just that outdoor design of the bathhouse and everything like that, it's just brilliant. And like seeing it against that backdrop of all the water and like the lights like from the, I don't know, city like across the way or whatever and everything like that, it's just so gorgeous. Like, I could gush about it for hours. But
right. I bet that there are like huge like coffee table books of like the most 4K HD images of these like movie storyboards that I bet I could just like stare at for fucking ever.
Yeah. You know how they do what is it? It's like that those like Van Gogh exhibits where it's like you're like in Van Gogh and all that shit, and it's basically like big PowerPoints and all that. I want that, but Studio Ghibli like so badly.
I was perusing TikTok and I saw that they're gonna make a Studio Ghibli like theme park in Japan, which I don't know if it exists. I don't think it exists yet, but it's like maybe in the development of existing. But I'm like, oh my god, the way I just would spend so much money to go. I would bankrupt myself to immerse myself if they do it right, which I'm sure they will. Like that just sounds so incredibly magical to me. But I guess speaking of, this is like a weird transition, but speaking of like theme parks and then Disney, I actually watched this movie in Japanese with subtitles for the first time. I almost always watch the dub. Yeah, with Ghibli films. So I used to, when I was younger, I would always watch anime dubbed. But now, as like an older person who watches almost everything with subtitles, I find like a lot of anime is just, you get so much better of an experience if you do watch the subbed version, because like that the voice acting is just so much better. But so I had never watched this in Japanese before, and so I decided to for this watch. Oh, it was great, but I think Studio Ghibli films specifically always do have really good English dubs, because I think the early success of Ghibli films gave Miyazaki sort of a friendship and partnership with people at Pixar, and so they always had Pixar connections. They did all of the American production distribution of Ghibli films, always went through Pixar. So in this one specifically, like the voice of Chihiro is the voice of Lilo.
Yeah.
So they get like pretty good, like well-versed voice actors to do, not to say that other, films don't do that, but in particular, a lot of care was taken to the English dub version of a lot of Ghibli films, because I think they knew they would do well because they were so iconic. This was the highest grossing film in Japanese history from its release until 2020.
Holy shit.
It was just recently surpassed by something else, but this was the highest grossing Japanese film in Japanese history for almost 20 years.
Makes sense.
Fucking wild. And it's the only Japanese film to ever win an Oscar for Best Animated. This one, Best Animated Film.
Yeah, I'd fucking hope. Yeah.
And no film since has been... I don't even know if any foreign film since has won Best Animated Feature. Somebody could clock me on that, but that's just kind of an assumption.
It wouldn't shock me with the Oscars.
But what was I gonna... Oh, yeah, just that it was the voice of Lilo, and that I think that because also I know, like, Ponyo is, like, Noah Cyrus and Frankie Jonas. Which is, like, so random. But, I think they do take special care of Miyazaki films as far as American distribution because of that, like, Disney relation. Which I'm like, Disney, just only do Disney should just shut itself down and only support. I think Miyazaki hasn't made a film in a long time, though.
It's
right?
been
I
a
think the
while.
last
Yeah,
one-
we were looking this up the other day, and it's been like at least like 2015, maybe earlier. I can't remember.
I think the last one I remember is like Secret World of Arrietty, which I don't even
Yeah.
think I saw. I just
I
like,
didn't
recalled
see
it
it.
coming out. I think there are things coming out of Studio Ghibli that aren't Miyazaki. Maybe.
Oh, yeah,
I also
yeah.
I don't know about any of that either. But
Um,
it's regularly scheduled.
Programming? Yeah, you want to get into it?
Yeah, sure.
This is a great one for Fuck, Marry, Kill, but who are our top 3?
So I feel like as far as screen time, the 3 adults that get the most screen time are Lin,
Yes. Yababa.
Yubaba, and Kamaji.
Perfect. This is easy.
Because I don't really give a fuck about Chihiro's parents, and I feel like
No.
Zaniba and Yubaba is like 2 sides of the same coin, so I'm just
Yeah.
gonna give it to Yubaba, because I think we get more of her.
Yeah, we get more of her. So clearly, I'm gonna marry Kamaji. We're gonna live a beautiful life down in the cellar. I am gonna play with the soot sprites. He's gonna show me everything he can do with those 6 arms of his. And I'm gonna love him. I'm gonna get matching glasses like his. And we're just gonna flex the entire time. And then I'm gonna fuck Lynn because, I mean, a mean femme? Yeah. I know myself. And then kill Yubaba, even though... could I kill Yubaba and, like, take over her apartment? Because, like...
Right?
I love... Like, Zaniba, like, shits on it. She's like, oh, her tacky-ass apartment. I was like, this is a flex.
It's nice. Yeah.
I was like, maximalism at its finest.
I just can't even justify doing anything different from
Yeah,
that, because that's I think that's
exactly.
objectively the right answer.
Uh-huh.
And then I guess out of the whole film, it's kind of tough because it's like these spirits.
Yeah.
Can I fuck a spirit?
You can definitely... Yeah, I'd say so, yeah. Who's to say not?
Instead of fucking a spirit, I want No Face to eat me and then spit me back out later. As I want the experience of going through the digestive system.
That can be, like, sexually gratifying for some people, so, like, yeah, sure. Maybe not for you, but, like, for him.
Wait, actually, this is making it sound like I'm into vor, which I'm not.
Wait, I take it back.
Wait, I take it back. I'm gonna. So I want to like stray from the path of the 3 we've already discussed.
But they're so good.
But they are so good, and I'm like the turnip guy. Like, do I marry him? Like, I don't know if I know
He's
enough about him.
rich. He's rich.
True.
I would,
like,
come on.
But what are his values? Like, I don't know if we would be compatible. So
Boobs out, relax. That's that's what I got from him. Also, like, he's a G. He helped Chihiro out, like, getting up the elevator. He turned a little blind eye to the human. Dude, he's good.
I want to crawl up under his mustache and like
Yeah,
curl
sleep
up
under
and
there.
just, like,
Yeah.
hang out under there.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, I still think you have to marry Kamaji. I think I would still fuck Lynn. She's cool as fuck. And
Yeah.
I guess then I'll fucking kill Chihiro's dad.
Oh, he pissed me off, like, a lot. That man was a bloodhound for that food in the town.
Do you know why he pissed you off? It's because he looks like every Boston cop.
Yep. Yeah.
That is the prototype of every Massachusetts state cop.
Uh-huh.
Looks exactly like that fucking man.
Yeah,
The minute I
the
saw him,
haircut,
I'm like,
ugh.
dude, yeah, the Widow's Peak, like, crew cut, hard no for me. I'm like, you look like every statey who's ever pulled me over, sir.
No, entirely. That is so the right move to kill her dad.
Then he turns into a pig. Fitting.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. I'm still gonna marry Kamaji. I'm gonna kill the frog. The little frog guy. He just annoyed me. Like, he seems just really irritating. Not for me. I want him out of sight, out of mind. Let him float down the river. That's fine by me. And then I'm gonna fuck the radish spirit because I want to see what's going on.
Yeah.
Out of purely out of curiosity.
What's going on under that little loincloth, you know? let's get into it. Let's find out. Because, I was thinking about all the spirits. I'm like, I don't want to fuck one of the frog people.
No.
And I don't want to fuck one of the ducks. Like, they're very cute, but, like,
Yeah,
I don't want
no.
to fuck one of the giant ducks.
Actually, no, I take it back. It's one of those spirits. Like, they don't have, like, a name. They're just, like, I'm not gonna fuck the radish spirit. They're just, like, the fully, like, they're, like, black. And it's not no face. They're, like, these, like, little black, like, floaty guys. They're kind of see-through.
Yeah,
I want to know
they're
what's
just
gonna
like a
happen
blob.
there. Yeah, it's like a blob.
They're the ones, like, preparing all the food.
Yeah.
Perhaps they could make you a really fire meal afterwards.
Yeah. Like a really like good like post fuck bao bun. Oh, come on now.
But with your husband Kamaji, you will get to drink straight from the tea kettle.
Oh, thank God. He seems like he knows how to party. Like once the bathhouse is shut down, we're just ripping sake all night. Like imagine being hammered, like hanging out with like him and like the soot sprites.
I also want him to crawl around on his arms and me to like ride on his back.
Exactly.
Backpack.
Like, oh my God, it would be. This is the life I want, really. Before we get off this topic, do you think that No Face, I just want to bring this up, just has like a denial kink?
Oh my God. No Face, my favorite. So this not. Moving on from that, my favorite thing about No Face's character design is that as he like morphs into like a bigger, more grotesque version of himself, he grows like a little ugly ass haircut. Like, at one point, he just grows a floppy little bowl cut to for what reason I don't know, and then it recedes the minute that he gets back to normal. It's like JK. I don't know who that was.
It's like me when I'm like trying to like transform myself. I'm like having like a whole moment and I'm like, okay, wait, never mind, I lied. Sorry.
Let me sprout a little bowl cut. JK.
No, I tried something, it didn't work. Going back. What would you eat or drink for this? Because there's obviously we've talked about how gorgeous the food is and like where all the inspiration can come from there. So
and it's wild because this movie is pretty visually heavy with the food, and I would still rank it like below a couple other Miyazaki films as far as like the food in it looking fucking amazing. Like it's not even the top food-based Miyazaki film, which is wild. But the two specific foods, like direct references from the movie that come to mind are the very first scene where the parents are eating all of the feast, and the dad picks up this like soup dumpling.
Yeah, it's ginormous.
It's like the size of his head, and it just looks like gelatinous and full of liquid, and I'm assuming it's a soup dumpling,
the way
just
he
based off of like slurps it down. But just a good soup dumpling, it would really hit with this movie. And then really like nichely specific, but for a really long scene, Kamaji is holding chopsticks with a piece of tempura shrimp in between his little chopsticks, and he's talking and he's whatever, and there's like a whole like 10-minute scene of just whatever's happening, and the whole time he's just holding this little piece of tempura shrimp, and I'm like, why is that all I want in this world right now, is to just snatch that from you and eat that little piece of tempura shrimp. It looks so fucking good. Because a lot of food is used in this movie as like gluttonous or grotesque, and like a giant pig head, and like you're just consuming. So I don't know if I would recommend like doing like a gluttonous feast type of thing, but I definitely think you could pull like certain little things that look especially delicious and emulating them. Yeah. Because it's hard not to. This movie makes me want to fucking eat. Yeah, like, I know it shouldn't, because it's, like, supposed to... I guess I'm also a glutton. I deserve to be turned into a pig. And then as far as what to drink... my first idea was, I think I've said in the past before, to use charcoal, like activated charcoal in your cocktail to turn it black. So you make a black cocktail, and then if you can find really cute sprinkles that look like stars, or even just sprinkles in general, to like rim your glass with honey and then with like star sprinkles. So you could do a black cocktail with like a little star sprinkle rim, and it could be like your soot sprite drink.
So cute.
That could be really cute. And then specifically, recently, somebody gave me as a gift a bottle of sake and then also really spicy Bloody Mary mix to make sake Bloody Marys. And I think you could do like a spicy sake Bloody Mary with like strips of bacon in it to like pig's bacon. So you could, I don't know. There's something to be said there. I think Bloody Mary is a specific mood you have to be in to drink, and I think you could also pair that with like some sort of breakfast food.
Yeah,
because this movie, not as much, but Miyazaki films always go like real hard on the breakfast.
Oh yeah,
like just like looking fucking delicious.
Yeah, think of like the Howl's Moving Castle. Like, oh my god, they have like a whole like it's literally like 2 minutes straight of just watching like eggs and bacon sizzle on a plate. I feel you though, definitely not like the gluttonous vibe. For some reason, the thing that stood out to me this time was, which we talked about, where Chihiro's like eating like these like big things of rice and just crying. I was like, for some reason that stuck out to me this watch, and I think you do like a crispy sushi rice with like some fresh tuna on top and everything like that, and like a little mayo and sriracha and like a little jalapeno on top, you know what I'm saying? But I feel like that's like something that feels like really fresh and like a little more light, which I really dig for this. And also like, come on, it's rice. Crispy rice is so good. But and yeah, a sake cocktail is definitely also the route that I was gonna go, and I know both of us on this podcast are big fans of like a French 75. So instead you do a Japanese 75, which is like an ounce of lemon juice, 2 ounces of gin, half an ounce of demerara syrup, and then you top it with like some sparkling sake. And it's just like these two feel like really good, like crisp and light like snacks and drinks to pair together, which I dig.
Yeah, which this movie does make me hungry, but also in like a gross way.
Yeah,
like I don't know if I really want to be eating something like actually that heavy during this, because that might just make me feel like I'm participating in like the grossness.
Yeah.
So no, I vibe with that
entirely.
And then, as far as what to follow it up with, my two sort of suggestions, the first being if you watch the dubbed version, it is very, like, the moment you realize that that's Lilo, you're like, fuck, that's Lilo, like from Lilo and Stitch. So I think to watch Lilo and Stitch right after this could be a fun little jump.
For sure.
Just because, like, same voice actress and same, you know, and then I think thematically speaking, you can tie so many movies similarly to this of like Alice in Wonderland or Wizard of Oz, of like girl enters unknown world and has to figure out her way through it. Like there's like so much you could do with that sort of category. But to me, this movie makes me want to have a marathon devoted to pigs. And I want to watch Charlotte's Web. And then I want to watch this movie, and then I want to watch my favorite film from the year 2021 starring Nicolas Cage, Pig, which is a movie about a pig, but it's also about beautiful food. So I feel like it fits.
I'm
having a pig marathon.
I was anticipating you throwing Okja in there.
Oh, Okja could fit for sure as well. And into my pig marathon, yeah. Let's just keep the ball rolling.
Yeah, might as well.
Okja's next. Yeah, for sure.
I like the pig marathon you're going with. I went a more current route, considering that this is the highest regarded animated feature like ever made and everything like that. I'm saying that you watch one of the newest animated films that has been getting some solid reviews. You go and you check out Minions: Rise of Gru. You look insulted.
I haven't seen it, so I can't say.
It's pretty good.
But
it was
good?
It was pretty good.
You saw it,
Yeah,
right?
I did see it. I did watch it. Obviously it doesn't fucking hold a candle to like Miyazaki, Jesus Christ. But this is like
I was gearing myself up for you to say Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
No.
And then you said
Minions Rise of Gru.
So
Yeah, I was having like the day that I went and I saw this, I was feeling like extremely anxious, and I still managed to like enjoy it. So I feel like I was like, okay, this is a good movie. If I can still feel good about this leaving the theater and have like a couple of giggles, I'm having a good time.
Interesting.
But yeah, no, obviously it's not fucking shit compared to this. Jesus Christ. But like that is like the big, and it's not the mouse. The mouse didn't put it out. I would never tell you to go watch The Mouse after this, but Yeah, I'd say that one is your jump from me. Because as much as
And then
I would say like go watch another like Miyazaki film, like you don't, you know what, that feels gluttonous to me. You can't watch 2 in a row. You obviously can, but like, you know what I mean?
it's almost like I feel like if you do 2 in a row, like I'm gonna get lost in it. Like I'm gonna get so immersed in the worlds of Miyazaki. Like after one, if I just roll right into another one, I'm not gonna be able to snap out of it. I'm gonna get stuck.
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna get stuck in that mindset.
It's too much sauce.
It's like when people like take too much acid and then they get stuck like that.
Yeah.
How it happened to me.
Yeah.
That's what happens if I watch too much Studio Ghibli.
No, that's fair. That's so fair.
I'm like eating a cute little snack, like picking flowers in a field, and someone's like, "What happened to her?" And they're like, "She got stuck." she got. I'm like wearing a beautiful little sun hat, and I'm like prancing around. Everyone's like, "What's up with her?" They're like, "Oh, sorry, she got stuck in the Ghibli mindset."
Miyazaki got her. Yeah.
And then this movie's
It's
a 10. Out of
Is this
10,
the first,
this movie is a 10.
Is this the first movie you've ever given a 10?
On the pod, yeah, I think last week I gave National Treasure a 9, which is almost offensive to say that, to compare National Treasure to this movie, but this movie is a 10.
Easy.
No notes.
Nothing.
No notes.
It's perfect.
I'm so excited that we finally got around to covering this, because I feel like this was one of the ones that was probably in our brainstorm for like literally the first time we ever did the podcast.
Easily.
And it's just taken so long. And so this has been our installment of it's our podcast August. We're just doing whatever the fuck we want, and I'm really happy we got around to this one, because watching this last night I'm in a good mood now.
Exactly.
You know? I can't be in a bad mood anymore.
I woke up early, like made good coffee, you know what I mean? Got in a cute little outfit. I'm feeling myself. You're feeling yourself after you watch a Ghibli movie.
If you can't afford therapy, well, if you can't afford therapy or HBO Max, I have some Tumblr links for you to watch this movie at 0.5 speed in reverse. But if you can't afford therapy, a good Miyazaki will set you straight for a few days for sure.
You got at least 36 hours out of this.
But we're gonna continue next week with just doing whatever the fuck we want, but I do have to spoil that September we've got some more real bangers coming. We're gonna do sequel September, and we're covering all sequels to movies that we've already covered, so there's some real good ones coming. But with that being said, as always, continue to send us your suggestions for movies, month themes, just shit that you think that we would like, that we should check out, chocolate or vanilla ideas, all of that good stuff. We love to hear from all of you. You're all so fucking cool. Every time we get a DM, I'm like, why are the people who listen to our podcast so much cooler than me? I'm like, why are you listening to me? I suck. You guys are all awesome. So just know that we appreciate your listenership. We love to hear from you as always. Thank you for listening. Check out our merch, the description below. You don't even have to buy anything, just click on it, check it out. Hopefully new merch as I enter unemployment and adulthood. Hopefully I'll have more time to make some more merch designs and stuff, pins, stickers, all that good stuff. So keep your eye on that, and we love you, and goodbye and good night.